Hello everyone, this is Fred DeBerg and this is another edition of Fred Talk in the Spotlight. Now this one's going to be a little different because, well, there's nobody here except for me and Janice who's behind the camera. Well, that's because I'm going to be interviewing myself. My wife thought, you know, it might be a good idea for you to do this because a lot of people don't know a lot about you. So here it goes. My name is Fred DeBerg and my wife and I are owners of Spotlight Dance Arts, which has become Spotlight Dance Arts Online. And last year, around March 19th, which is my birthday by the way, we still had a studio over on Broadway in El Cajon. Well, that changed. COVID-19 happened and we ended up closing our business down at that location. Now, what was really interesting about that was I still wanted to do something. So we started teaching exercise classes, free exercise classes online in our garage. And people liked it. You know, I was like, hey, people like this is nice. Well, the good thing was it inspired me to think about setting up a studio in the garage, and that's actually where we are right now. We call it Fred's Dance Space, and it is in our garage. So we actually have a studio in our garage. Yay! Kind of neat. So a little bit about me. So a lot of people don't know that I started dance when I was 7 years old. And actually, if I want to be honest with you, I started dancing before I could walk. They say that I danced before I walked, and that was at 9 months. So I guess I was just born to dance. So at 7, I started taking dance classes with the Park and Recs department, Park and Recreations in San Diego, and I started with tap dancing. And it turned out that I was pretty good at it. So one of the ladies, one of the mothers of another student said to my mom, you know, you might want to get him involved in a dance studio because he's already going to surpass everybody that's here. Get him into a private studio. So I joined up with Sue Hamilton's School of Dance Arts, 3140 El Cajon Boulevard in San Diego. Yes, it became my second home. And I took lessons constantly during the week. Ended up going to a school that was Roosevelt Junior High School, and that was in the area of where the studio was. We actually claimed that my address was the studio, so we went to Roosevelt Junior High School, and I literally lived at Sue Hamilton School of Dance Arts. Kept going there until I was about 16, but at the age of 15, I started auditioning for things like Starlight Civic Light Opera. And they kind of considered me one of those prodigies because I was actually too young to dance in it because I was supposed to be 16, but I was 15. So I started dancing and I started doing every show. That was back in 1982. Yeah, that's a long time ago. So I started dancing in different shows, learning a lot. All that training that I was getting at Sue Hamilton School of Dance Arts paid off, and I was dancing in shows, even won awards for my dancing in different shows that I did at Starlight. Shortly thereafter, we actually lived in Southeast San Diego, and the School of Creative and Performing Arts just happened to move into the high school that was literally in our neighborhood. That was O'Farrell SCPA, O'Farrell School of Creative and Performing Arts. And so I automatically got in. I didn't even have to wait because I lived in the neighborhood. You know, that sounds like a God thing, doesn't it? I mean, literally moved into my neighborhood. So I went to the School of Creative and Performing Arts and I learned a lot. It inspired me with the idea that I could be a choreographer. It inspired me to pursue the arts as a living or as a profession, and it was amazing. I learned a lot. Didn't get a whole lot of academics, but I did get a lot of education in the arts in music, in drama, in dance, primarily dance, because after a while you kind of need to specialize a little bit in the area that you want to end up going. So I did that for a long time. Performed all over San Diego as a professional performer, did a lot of that, and one of these days I'll tell you a little bit more history about that. But let's get back to the studio. Spotlight Dance Arts came into existence when I was working as a customer care service representative for Cox Communications, and I'd had it. I was like, I'm done with this. I have to do something else. So God took me on a little journey and essentially got me back to dancing. And then I thought to myself, why don't I teach? I could teach. I could do that. I didn't really know what I was doing in teaching, but I was like, I could do this. So I ended up opening up Spotlight Dance Arts with Christian Community Theater. We became the year-round dance studio for Christian Community Theater, Christian Youth Theater. And we learned a lot, didn't we, Janice?
Yeah.
We learned a lot. So shortly I'd say about 7 years after we had started it, we had a need to move to a new location. So we moved to Spring Valley into another studio. And that location, although it was really good for a transition, was not a good fit for us. So that's when we moved to the studio on Broadway in El Cajon. And that turned out to only be 2.5 blocks away from our house. Yay! That was really good. And the neat thing about that was we had a situation where my wife, Janice, had a stroke and was physically having some difficulties. So being so close to the studio was another amazing blessing. Just amazing. So, when we look at everything that's been happening in our world as of recent with COVID-19 and the pandemic, we look at it and we think, there's been a lot of challenges, yes, but in a lot of ways it's also been blessings. On March 19th, 2020, we closed our doors of Spotlight Dance Arts because we were mandated by our governor that we needed to do that. Well, that turns out to be my birthday. March 19th. Happy birthday, right? Happy birthday. So the studio had to close down, and that's when we set up everything in the garage. And we've, along the way, realized that Spotlight Dance Arts, from my perspective, needs to specialize a little bit. We've always been a musical theater-oriented dance studio, but we need to specialize a bit. And for whatever reason, and I'm not sure why, teaching kids has been not our forte. Who knew? I teach adults, and I specialize with adults, and I'm good with adults. And I'm like, we need to focus on the adults. A lot of adults are looking for dance, and quite frankly, they don't have any venues to do it at. Spotlight Dance Arts is it. They can do it here. And because we're in a new space called Fred's Dance Space, the nice thing about that is the classes are smaller. They're intimate. So you get personalized attention with me in the area of tap, in the area of ballet, in the area of jazz, in the area of musical theater movement. And who knows, we might start even doing more voice lessons. I used to teach vocal lessons as well. So you just never know. And the way the path and the twists and turns of that path happen, oh my gosh, let's face it, things have been crazy. But you know what? The whole point of doing these videos is to keep people thinking about the arts and keeping it in the minds of people. That's the important thing. So this is probably one of many videos that I'm going to give about me. It's all about me. No, I'm teasing. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes this edition of Fred Talk in the Spotlight. Again, my name is Fred DeBerg. Keep the arts alive in San Diego.